like now in the prison, everybody have colors. They are in colors, and also I read green, yellow, like very dangerous, medium risk, and like high risk. Yeah, it's on the colors, and I think they take the good choice.
Yes.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we need to learn, isn't it? Because those mistakes can't keep happening. If you've got institutional racism, money and investment need to be put in. And investment from the government needs to be put in to reducing the prison, reducing costs. So more scientific ways in terms of looking at things, in terms of analysis, in terms of classification, I think needs to take place. But in order to do that, you need the investment from the government. You need the will from the government to want to do it. Otherwise, it's going to stay as the same. Yes, we're going to have successes, but yes, we're going to have people who are going to be put away. And I wouldn't like to be one of those people who have been put away for 15, 20 years of my life on, where I'm innocent. So I would say that, yes, it is a good system. But we need more money and we need more investment in terms of looking at ways to rehabilitate.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing, rehabilitating.
Yes, yes. And we need money to look at scientific ways of reclassification where we don't necessarily need to put everyone in prison.
And good people who do good job.
Yes.
If it's not good people and it's good investment, what you do?
Yes.
Yes. The right persons, professional people.
Yes.
So the minor crimes that they're not planning on putting people in prison for. Isn't there a risk that the person might just carry on offending?
Yeah, but then you also have things like tags, tags on your leg, where you're restricted to staying at home. And so you're not in prison, but then you're at home, but with a tag on your leg, and so you can only move within it.
I'll tell you that didn't work. Because just a weekend or so ago, someone broke into my car, and I wasn't the first person, the second person around that area. They caught someone that had just been released from prison with a tag. And I think this must have happened because my kid said they had something like gone past midnight. Anyway, but he's gone back. From what I hear, he's gone back into prison.
But the thing is, we've got to try. We've got to try these things out. We've got to see what works and so on and so forth, because we don't know, do we? But nevertheless, the government needs investment in terms of rehabilitation. The government needs money and investment in terms of trying out maybe the trial of the reclassification, and trying to reduce the prison service, and trying to do it with the least amount of...
They need to put more police back on the road.
And maybe more police back on the road. But again, it comes down to government funding, government spending.
Government.
Okay, so again, what we were talking about earlier. Yes, and how much money they've got to spend. Yeah. So the second part of the question, so again, you would look at the pros and cons, use some relevant examples, and then you give your opinion, what you think. Okay? Then we need to look at common law. What's the advantages and disadvantages of the common law?
I haven't looked at that.
So the advantage of the common law is what? I mean, for common law, you can get unforeseen cases that have not been covered by legislation. So if we take Donahue versus Stevenson, 1932, negligence, which required a contract between two people. In Donahue versus Stevenson, 1932, established a neighbour principle. The neighbour principle, which has said that, if things were reasonably foreseeable and you do something to harm someone else, which is reasonably foreseeable, then you could be liable for those damages, even if you don't have a contract with someone. Again, this legislation didn't exist. So the good thing is that common law are laws which are made by judges and not through the legislative process in terms of bills going through the Houses of Parliament or from secondary legislation. So in this way, it's good because laws can cover those gaps that legislation don't actually meet. Again, common law is based on previous cases. So legislation and negligence, in terms of Donahue versus Stevenson, there's a sense of consistency there. It's another advantage. Consistency in terms of all similar cases now, with that similar type background, the outcome will be based on that case. So there's consistency in terms of how the law is applied, using that as an example. Yeah. Again, other advantages include speed and efficiency. How long does it take for a bill to go through the Houses of Parliament? How long? It could take up to a year if it goes through the whole process. First reading, second reading, committee stage, report stage, third reading, on to the next house, First reading, second reading, committee stage, report reading, third reading, and then back to the first house, then on to the Queen for the royal assent and approval. So that's a long process, whereas this, you go take someone to court and it's a civil case, then it can be dealt with there and then, unless someone appeals it against in the High Court and appeals it in the Court of Appeal and appeals it again in the Supreme Court. But at some point or another it's going to stop, isn't it? And you're going to have the final decision as regards to what the judges say. So speed and efficiency, you've got political independence. The good thing about a common law, where the judges are actually making the cases, is that, and making the ruling, is that it's not politically based. Normally, the judge is looking at the case, is looking at your side, and then coming to a decision. It's not saying, well, I'm thinking of this political party or that political party. Do you understand?
Yeah.
And even if you take, for instance, let's take a relevant example, Theresa May and Brexit. Theresa May said, well, I've got the mandate, I want to press the button on Article 50. But people said, no, you can't. You still need to put the bill and go through due process through the Houses of Parliament. She said, no, I don't need to. She was taken to court. Did she win or lose? She lost. She lost. And the judge says, no, you still need to put that bill, because the bill is not passed by a referendum. The bill must go through due process and through the Houses of Parliament. So the judge stopped her for being a law unto her own. Do you understand? So, again, when we say political independence, we can see that the judge wasn't in favour of the Prime Minister. He was politically independent, looking at the facts of the case and applying the rule of law. So, for me, I think that's a good thing. Okay, yes, they still pressed Article 50, which was the right thing to do, don't get me wrong, but it still went through the rule of law. Otherwise, she would be a law unto her own. Okay? What are some of the disadvantages of this? The disadvantages are it can be quite undemocratic. It's undemocratic because these judges are not actually elected as elected members of Parliament. They're not elected by us. They could be, district judges who are paid and have and qualifications. Disadvantages are it's reactive and not proactive. Unlike Parliament, Parliament assess and go through these bills. And so they're actually looking at, they're being proactive and seeing what problems can happen. In addition to that, if you look at the process of a bill that goes through Parliament, they have the committee stage. And in the committee stage, you bring in outside experts. You bring in other people. Whereas, where are the experts in the common law with the judge? Where are all the experts to give their opinions? Well, you don't have it, do you? So, when you're look at the advantages and disadvantages of common law. But then what's your opinion? Good thing or bad thing? Do you prefer common law or do you prefer civil law, Roman law?
I mean, one of the advantages that I guess I would say for common law is that one you can use the judgment of one case to apply it to another case and still win your case.
Yes.
They are.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, for me personally, again, once you're given the pros and cons, your critical evaluation means that you have to give your own opinion. You must give your own opinion. You can't just give the pros and cons. You must then tell me what you think. Make sense? So again, it's no right or wrong answer as long as you justify it. But for me, I'm in favour of common law. I mean, maybe because I've grown up here, but I'm in favour of common law. I like the fact that I can take a case against you and we could make a ruling based on our case in court that everyone else has to follow. There's so many cases to that effect. Carlyle versus Carbolic Spoke Company Limited, establishing the fact that you can make an offer to the world at large in certain circumstances. When there's an offer made, offer acceptance consideration. Do you understand? So for me, I would vote very hard in favour of common law. And I think I like the independence from the political parties. And the independence from the political parties is good because the legislation is not focused on a political perspective. Okay? Is that D1 done?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to stop it there.